Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to rebuild the mk3 Golf rear tailgate or boot lid after repainting. We're going to fix the centre locking lock and we're also going to install the rear spoiler with the centre brake light. Stay tuned. Thankfully I got a spare boot lid and plenty of spare parts when I bought this project. So I'm going to show what I did and all the steps involved in stripping down this boot lid and how I rebuilt it onto the freshly painted proper boot lid. So first, using our little pry bar, we went all the way around and removed the beauty cover. So obviously I have rebuilt all of this boot lid, so there's no point showing you back onto the original red one how I stripped it down, but I'm just going to show very quickly what is involved in how you would strip down your boot lid or how you would rebuild it. So the very first thing is to remove these little clips. If you put a little pick in at the far side and the same at this side, this whole clip, they'll then pop up and you'll be able to remove it. So that makes it way easier for painting, and to put it back, you basically just push it in and it clips straight in. Next, wiring. So each of these clips to hold on the wiring was removed, and eventually, if you undo these clips here at the side for the heated window, and then slowly fish them back, you can pull the whole wiring out, and behind here, there's a big clip. You can undo that, so this wiring will stay here, and then only a small bit of the wiring has to go up and out this side. Same is done for the central locking. There is a green pipe just there. It comes all the way up, comes up through here. You can just leave it out here. You can pull that out and that makes it way easier for painting. To reinstall it, obviously you just push this one back in and then you can push in the grommet or the accordion part and that will make the seal again. Next, the wiper has to be removed. So there's 4 13mm nuts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Undo them. There's a big 24mm nut on the other side holding in the rear wiper. 2 torque bits hold in the rear lock. Next we're going to remove the 2 light up number plate lights. So there's 2 screws here, 2 on the far side, and then 4 screws that hold in this plastic trim. Behind the lights there is a plastic gasket or little rubber gasket. One here and obviously one there. Don't lose them. Next you will want to remove this bar. There's one here and there's a second one further down. You remove them both at the same place. This is on the spare lock. One there, one there. You can just flick them off. They're fairly easy to remove. To remove the rear lock button, there's a little clip just there and same on the opposite side. And you just push them in gently here and here. And you can then pull out the lock mechanism. So once you have all those steps done, you've pretty much stripped the entire boot lid. There is a gas strut holder just here, one little grommet there, and another grommet there. And that's now the boot stripped, or if you're doing the other way around, that's now the boot lid rebuilt. Now we come to the boot lock. How are we going to link the key to the boot lock, or if your key is linked to your boot lock but won't turn it, how do we fix that? So the first step is to remove this little small clip just here. Now with the clip removed, we should be able to start pulling all of this plastic straight up. When you pull this plastic assembly up, there's 2 parts stuck together. Just be super careful. There's a tiny pin that sits in there in the gap, so don't lose that. Next we're going to push the boot lock out. You might need a hammer, just a tap at the end, or if there's a lot of corrosion and it's stuck. These are the little lock pins that sit inside the lock barrel. So if your key is already linked to the lock barrel, all you'll have to do is just open them, take each one of them out individually, clean them with brake cleaner, put a little bit of copper grease or WD-40 into them and slide them back in. However, if you have a new key and the lock barrel isn't linked, you'll have to pull each one of these out. There are numbers on them. You can see that's number 8. There'd be number 16, number 7, number 1, etc. And they're all slightly different. So you'll have to keep putting the key in and out and keep swapping them around till eventually they all link up. The alternative is, if you don't really care about security that much, is literally put your key in and take a file and then just file them flat. So they have to be the same circumference as the aluminium barrel. So now we're going to rebuild the lock. So the little metal pin goes into the gap just there, and you can see there is a tiny little gap just there at the bottom of the screen in the side of the circle. Now this rebuild, you can see how the lock mechanism works. So in this position here, it is currently unlocked, because when you push in this push button just here at the back like that, this whole assembly is going to move up and down, push on the hammer, and that's going to open the tailgate. So when you lock the car, it's going to move back this way, and now when you push in the button, it's going to miss the hammer here, so nothing's going to happen. So basically, you can't open the boot. But the thing I found was, so from here, which is lock position or unlock, I can't remember which, and then the other position is vertically up, so that's 90 degrees of a turn. But this here isn't moving 90 degrees, it's only moving maybe 60 degrees. So where's the other degrees is gone? So the center shaft is actually moving more than the outside shaft is moving. It makes absolutely no sense, but that's the way it works. So it moves back and forth, so the pin is actually rotating more than the plastic assembly is moving. And that makes sense. So if you look inside the lock, you see there's a little pin down there, but the corresponding piece is actually quite big. So obviously as it moves 90 degrees, it can actually skip or spin inside this just for a little small bit, which is actually adding up the extra rotation. So unfortunately what I found was when I have the key in this position here, I could open and close the tailgate. When I turned the key 90 degrees to lock it, everything worked normally. The boot lid was now locked and I couldn't open it from the outside. But when to go to unlock, basically this would spin, but this would still be stuck in the locked position. So I wouldn't be able to open the tailgate. So my solution was to get a little bit of a zip tie, maybe like that much, maybe 1 or 2 mil. Just put it into the side just there, just to build up any lost plastic. And now when I lock and unlock using the key, it all works. Brilliant. Okay, and now onto the rear spoiler. So we have the rear spoiler and there's 3 bolts that hold it on. These are the 3 bolts that hold on the rear spoiler. So for the spoiler, I got these little rubber gaskets, put them onto it so the nut isn't in direct contact with the glass, and then just tighten them down. I used a nut with the washer already built into it to have a bigger and wider surface area, just in case that was going to be a problem, and obviously not to over tighten the nut onto the glass and didn't want to crack the glass. But how did I get the rear brake light to work? So following the brake light comes all the way up here, but how are you meant to get the wire inside the car? So the rear brake light would sit here, and internally inside the spoiler it comes all the way up to here and comes out. I don't know how you're actually meant to get it back inside the car, because there's very little of a gap between the glass and the outside, so you don't see the wire. So what I did was I removed the nut, brought the wire up with the bolt, and then tightened it back down. On this side here, I did drill a hole 14 mil and put a grommet into it. Now the wire comes up through here, comes up through the gaiter, and that's it there now. And that's the way I attached it, because I couldn't find any videos, I couldn't find any information of how other people have done it, so this is the way I did it. I think it's neat enough that you won't see it, and yeah, that's how I did it. There's 2 bolts here and here. We have the gas struts back on. It's all wired up, plumbed up, and ta-da! So it looks pretty good. I'm delighted with that. So if you're enjoying this build, give it a thumbs up, subscribe over there, and as always guys, thanks for watching, see you later.